Hey guys, today we're going to look at how to weather your ultra micro F4U Corsair. And some of these tricks really work for almost really any RC aircraft or any RC warbird. Now when you first get this aircraft out of the box, it looks like it's been, it's brand new, it's out of the factory, or it's been properly restored, and it's going to be, you're going to see it at an air show or inside of a museum where the finish is very glossy, it's beautiful, it's perfect. Well, and that's great if you're trying to build a warbird that looks exactly like it belongs in a museum or an air show. But for me, I like to see my warbirds in action. I want to see them out there doing battle. And if this thing is going to be stationed in the South Pacific, on some island airfield that's made out of coral, and the hangars are basically underneath palm trees, and these guys are going to be fighting a battle, the aircraft, it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be grimy and dirty and full of stains and chips and all that kind of stuff. So today we're going to look at how am I going to make this Corsair look a little bit more like it's been doing battle in the Pacific in 1944. To kind of get started on like how do where do we get started? Where do the chips appear? Where does the exhaust stains appear? Where do the oil stains appear? You can do a couple different things. One, you can buy a number of books on the Corsair, which there are plenty of them out there. You can go down to your local library, if you even know where that's at anymore. I haven't been to mine in years, and look up some books and try to research that. Or do what most of us do nowadays: Google image search. I do an image search. I look up F4U Corsair, and here, boom, instantly I got a couple examples. In fact, both of these are actually the other example that you could build of the Ultra Micro Corsair. This is the other optional decal pack. Down below we actually have a scale model of the aircraft, and above we have a picture of the actual aircraft. And I looked at a number of other pictures as well, and to kind of get an idea on how to weather this aircraft. I wanted to look at, okay, where do the crew members typically stand? Where does the pilot typically get in and out of the aircraft? What panels are serviced the most that are going to have chips around them? So I kind of use that as kind of a starting point. So looking at my picture here, I could tell that we have a lot of exhaust stains that come out of the exhaust pipes down here, which are well marked. They have exhaust decals already on the aircraft. So we're going to have exhaust stains coming down through there. And from being around other Corsairs that have been at air shows and looking at pictures, there's also exhaust stacks somewhere right around here on both sides of the cowl. So you're going to get a lot of exhaust stains coming back through here. There's also an access panel up here right in front of the cockpit. I don't exactly know what that's for, but I have plenty of pictures indicating the crew standing up on top of the wings and doing some work on this panel. So I know there's going to be some drainage coming down, as well as some chips on the wings from them standing there. And I also know that from getting in and out of the aircraft, looking at other pictures, there seems to be some chips right around in this region here for both accessing this panel here and helping the pilot strap in, as well as a number of other panels that seem to have some chips on them. Now, unlike a scale model, a static model you're going to see in the 3-foot range. You're going to be up close, you're going to be really looking at it. Well, an RC airplane, you're probably going to see this thing at a range of probably 10 to 15 feet. So you don't have to be as precise with the weathering. You can be a little bit more liberal and still achieve a pretty good effect. At least that's what I've run into from what I've seen on flying these things around. So to get started, one of the first things I do is I get some exhaust staining. And so I get out some charcoal. Then I found this little nice tin cup that I actually take the charcoal and I sand the charcoal into kind of into the tin cup here, knock some down inside there, and then I take a kind of a pretty wide brush, I mix it in here, and I start to give some exhaust staining going back from the cowl. And I have a little bit that drains down and around the canopy here from whatever this access panel is that I've seen pictures of them getting to. So I just I know that the airstream is going to carry things in this direction, but gravity is going to kind of pull some things down. So anything that's going to be a liquid is going to want to flow downward as well as go this direction. So rainwater, any type of fluid they need to add to the aircraft, any hydraulic fluid, oil, fuel, anything like that, gravity's going to pull it down. The airstream is going to pull it that way. So I just kind of multi-layer between black, and then I also use a little bit of brown in there as well. And then as a final touch, I use a little bit of white, and I use the white very carefully because a lot of times high octane fuel actually leaves a white residue in the exhaust pipes. So I actually add just a little bit of white right to the sides of the cowl where the exhaust stacks would be. And then of course I do the same thing. I do the brown and the black first. I lay that on there. I actually skip the white on here because it's already white underneath and you really don't see it. And then once I get the engine cowling, exhaust staining done, I switch back over to a pure black, and I look at where the gun emplacements are, and I mark a couple spots down here like so. And again, I just did the tops of the wings. The bottom of the wings, the servos are kind of in the way, and I didn't really want to get anything in there, so I stick to the top of the wings, and I just kind of give a light coat of black staining coming down from where the gun turrets or the gun placements are. And then really once that's done, I kind of just leave the exhaust staining and fluid staining, all that stuff alone. I got a pretty good amount on there right now. You don't want to overdo it, but you do want to have a little bit of character to the aircraft. One of the other things, of course, these things are going to get all chipped up in the field. And for that I use a couple different options. I got my kind of a bright gray or a light gray pencil. And I also have some, typical model paint and a very thin brush. Now I use the colored pencil here, and I use that actually on the prop. And what I do is I just kind of make sure I do the leading edge a little bit. I don't want to use paint on the prop because I don't want to add any extra weight. So I use this. It's very light. And then after I get some layered on there, I just kind of take my finger and I kind of brush it down into the direction of the rotation. So it kind of gives it a nice wear feature on the prop. So once that's done, I kind of put the pencil off to the side and I switch back over to the paintbrush and the silver paint. And from what I've done from research, I can tell, okay, we're going to add some chips. They're going to be around the cowl. So we want to mark that area as well. And then I can see that from where the crew is going to be standing on the aircraft. I'm just going to add some silver chips in and around here. Some of the access panels, the panels in which the wing fold at. I want to add a couple little chips and things there. And slightly less on this side. It always seems to be this is the dominant side that the crew members would always use. So the side appears to be actually chipped more than the opposite side from pictures. So I kind of did that accordingly. I kind of chipped this side a little bit more than that. So once you get your paint chips, your exhaust stains, your gun stains, your fluid stains, you got all that on there, you need to seal it, because otherwise what happens is that every time you handle the aircraft, your hands turn to be black and you've now taken all your weathering off, or you end up with fingerprints all over the aircraft from where you've touched it and messed up the weathering. So for that, I just use some Testors flat spray lacquer, and I use a very small amount of this, and I only do it in the areas that I actually weathered. So after, I'll mask off the canopy, and I'll put just a light coat of spray down the sides where I have weathered the exhaust stains, right around this in front of the windshield here, and where I've added some stains as well, and over the tops of the wing for the gun, and then just a little bit down the center here where I've done some exhaust staining as well. And just put very, very, very light coats on it. You don't want to add any extra weight to the aircraft. You want just enough to seal in what you've done. Just kind of a word of advice here. What I found is that I weathered the aircraft so this thing looked absolutely filthy. I added the clear coat to it, and it seemed to have almost removed a lot of the coloring. The airplane actually didn't look nearly as weathered after that, so I did a second coat of weathering and a second coat of clear. And even then, most of the weathering actually disappeared. So you may actually want to weather this thing a little bit further than what you normally would think, and then add the clear to it. And if you have to, just kind of go back. As you can see, it's not horribly weathered. In fact, it's actually a little difficult in some lighting to even see some of the weathering effect that I have done. But as the aircraft flies by you doing a low pass, I imagine that you're going to see enough difference in the airframe to know that it has been weathered, and it's not a show queen. It's not a museum piece. It's a real fighter that's been doing battle. So hopefully this gives you a little bit more realism in the aircraft, and it's a lot of fun too, and you can be a lot more liberal and have a lot more fun doing this to an RC plane than to a static model because the aircraft flies further away. and it gives you just a little bit extra sense of realism as the aircraft flies around and out there hunting Mitsubishi Zeros and, you know, kind of providing air cover for the Marines on a landing. So there you have it. That is how to weather your ultra micro Corsair.